The US-China trade war might seem like just a tariff battle, but the reality is far more complex. From technology sanctions, supply chain conflicts, to massive geopolitical ambitions, is this confrontation nearing its end? Or is it just the calm before an even bigger storm? Stay tuned, because what you're about to hear could change how you view the world. The trade war between the United States and China has been one of the most impactful global economic events of the past decade. Beginning in 2018 under President Donald Trump, the U.S. imposed a series of high tariffs on Chinese goods to combat what Washington called unfair trade practices. China quickly retaliated with similar tariffs, creating years of ongoing tension. But what is striking is not just the tariffs themselves, but the geopolitical motivations behind them, and how the world has been drawn into a new great power rivalry. To fully understand this trade war, we must first look at the deeper motivations of each side. The U.S. is not only aiming to reduce its trade deficit with China, but is also trying to contain China's rise in technology and global influence. Restrictions targeting Huawei, TikTok, and recent limits on semiconductor exports clearly demonstrate Washington's concerns that China might surpass the U.S. in the core industries of the 21st century. Conversely, China views these moves as attempts to hinder the legitimate development of a rising power. Under President Xi Jinping's leadership, China has shown increasing ambitions to become a global superpower, not only economically, but militarily and technologically. This is evident in the Made in China 2025 plan, the Belt and Road Initiative, and significant investments in AI, 5G, and renewable energy. Recently, some signals of detente have emerged. Meetings between Xi Jinping and President Joe Biden on the sidelines of international summits have sparked hope for rebuilding strategic dialogue channels. Trade negotiations have resumed. China has expressed willingness to ease market access barriers and commit to purchasing more American goods, especially agricultural products. However, the reality remains complicated. Despite these commitments, many experts believe the fundamental contradictions between the two countries remain unresolved. Global markets are watching every development closely. When the US and China are at odds, supply chains are disrupted, transportation costs soar, inflation spreads, and investment slows. Developing countries suffer the most, often forced to pick sides in an unwanted conflict. Yet, if these two superpowers can strike a strategic long-term deal, the world stands to gain greatly. Market sentiment would stabilize, investment would return, and businesses would have a firm foundation to restructure post-pandemic supply chains. So is the US-China trade war coming to an end? On the surface, based on negotiations, purchase commitments, or temporary tariff pauses, it may seem the end is near. But at a deeper level, this is a contest for global influence in the 21st century. The US wants to maintain global leadership, while China seeks to reshape the international order in its favor. Therefore, any trade agreement will likely be just a pause in a much longer competition. For the US, the Biden administration is balancing two goals: reducing tensions to stabilize the economy and maintaining a firm stance so as not to appear weak before voters. With the next presidential election approaching, every move must be politically calculated. China, meanwhile, faces slowing growth and real estate crises, so it needs a stable international environment to focus on domestic development. If the two sides reach an agreement, it will carry multiple meanings. It will not just be about opening markets or lowering tariffs, but also about rebuilding strategic trust, a vital component currently missing in bilateral relations. However, this requires both the US and China to make some concessions, something still uncertain. The world will keep watching closely. European countries, ASEAN, and emerging economies in Africa and Latin America all have stakes in a stable global trade environment. International pressure could play a role in pushing both sides toward a lasting deal. The US-China trade war is not a standalone event, but the visible tip of a comprehensive strategic competition iceberg. This iceberg will continue to float in international politics for years to come. However, if conflict can be transformed into healthy competition and confrontation into cooperation, not only the US and China, but the whole world will benefit. Therefore, the question is not only whether this conflict will end, but also how we, as global citizens, choose to understand, react, and act amid the superpowers game. The US-China trade war is more than a battle between two nations. It is a test for the entire global order. When two superpowers lose trust, where does the world head? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think this war will end with cooperation or continue as a prolonged confrontation? If you found this content useful, don't forget to like, share with friends, subscribe, and stay tuned for more insightful analyses of tomorrow's world. Thank you, and see you in the next videos.